Go ahead, Mr. And Mr. Omershaw, I think you might have forgotten
If I were to suggest that you play a key role.
We're not hearing sound. There we go.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World. We have a little bit of a moment there. Usually things are just so smooth, so it's like, take a deep breath, because we have a really special show tonight. So I have a question for all of you. Who is facing some sort of a challenge? Might be a health challenge, might be a financial challenge, something that's getting in the way of you really enjoying life to the fullest, or perhaps getting in the way of you following a dream of yours. We all have had that experience in our life, and many of us might be going through it right now. Sometimes it might be that people around you don't believe you can do it, or maybe you don't believe you can do it. Or maybe the financial challenges or the health challenges or whatever other issues are getting in the way of you really moving forward to your true heart's desire. A great teacher of mine taught that anytime we make a big decision, may it be our aligned heart moving towards our greatest heart's desire. Well, tonight we're going to hear from several people that I have a lot of respect for, all of whom have overcome adversity and personal challenges to achieve a dream. And when I first thought of this kind of topic, this theme for the show, and honestly, it was inspired by a couple of the people here, starting with one of my all-time favorite human beings. You've seen her on the show many times. She's a frequent co-host. Our wonderful friend Larissa Stowe is with us as my co-host, and of course, to share her amazing stories. Welcome, Larissa.
Hi, Scott. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to hearing everybody's stories. You said it when you're asking us. I'm like, who would not like raise her hand and say there isn't something, that's challenging us, because that's what life is. Life gives us incredible opportunities, right? Constant opportunities to, or should I say, obstacles that become these amazing opportunities to grow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
endless.
right.
Endless.
It is endless. Well, let me show the people who else is going to be with us tonight. So I've invited a woman that I really respect. She's a wonderful sports writer, and this is Molly Knight. And as I've gotten to know her, she had vulnerably shared a little bit about some of her challenges. And I thought, oh, she would be perfect for this show. So welcome to the Awakening World, Molly.
Hi, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
And then my next door neighbor is here. This is Liz Connors. Liz is part of this wonderful community here in Ashland. And we actually all are sharing the chateau along with, I think, 4 or 5 other people. It's this other epic castle-like place that we live. And because I know Liz personally, I know her story. And she's, again, it's great to have you with us. I've been wanting you to be on the Awakening World. I know you've watched many of the shows, Liz. So I'm glad you're finally going to be with us tonight. Welcome.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share my story and excited to be here with all of you lovely folks.
We have another wonderful new guest. I'm just getting to know him. This is the first time I've actually connected other than by Facebook Messenger. And this is Jesse Epps, who is a beautiful musical artist. And again, as I was chatting with Jesse and we're trying to decide which show to put him on, once I learned a little bit more about you, Jesse, I thought, yep, tonight is the right night for you. And so welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Look forward to playing for you later.
I see that Eleanor Joy and some of our other friends are here. Jesse is from the Pacific Northwest. He's up in Vancouver Island. And I know we've got at least a few friends that are from the Pacific Northwest. You all can privately chat each other a little bit. And of course, we have our beautiful beloved brother, Omar Shar, who is with us. And tonight I've asked Omar Shar not only to play a song, but to share his story of what he's had to overcome to live his dream of being a musician, coming out of the constraints of his life in England. So we're going to hear a little bit more from Omar Shar verbally.
You are. This is very true. Thank you. And this is a topic close to my heart. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are all going through something at the moment. And so to be able to share it openly and freely without judgment is just such a balm for the heart. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank each and every one of you. And, the purpose of the show, of course, is to be inspirational. So I really want to invite people. Let's really engage. I see a lot of our regulars are here. A lot of our friends are here. Share your story. Feel free to pop into the chat box, maybe what challenge you're working on, and certainly any questions you have for our wonderful presenters. And I'm going to turn it over to Larissa, my co-host, whom I just have so much admiration for. Larissa, you have such a wonderful ability to be honest and authentic about the challenges that you faced in your life. And it doesn't stop you. You're a community builder, you're a mother, you're a rock star, you create amazing videos. You're now creating this beautiful retreat site and community base where many of us will eventually live.
Yes, please.
Anyway, I'm going to just turn it over to you, Larissa, to share your story.
Well, I feel like my story is probably, so similar to a lot of people here. I was the specifics may not be, like as I share the details, it's not the same, but we definitely all go through our challenges. And I've had a lot of physical challenges. I was a baby in utero when my mama took DES, which was a pharmaceutical that the doctor felt would stop my mom from bleeding and hopefully I wouldn't be miscarried. And what happened with that is it just turned my hormones, and so many female babies, that their moms are given DES, our hormones upside down. And because of that, I've had rheumatoid arthritis in my 20s, and I've had endometriosis. I've had so many surgeries, like had internal bleeding from 3 of those surgeries, and I almost left my body. And I've had C. diff, and I've had cancer scares. All this, I know, it's all metabolic. It's now we understand that all disease kind of comes back to metabolic disease. whether it be heart disease or cancer or rheumatoid arthritis, all that inflammation. And for me, like coming so close to that edge, I have experienced, I mean, in that moment when I've come close to the edge, it's been the hardest thing ever. I've had to fight my way back numerous times, and I'm not going to lie, it's when I'm there, it's the scariest, it's the scariest experiences I've ever had fighting for my life. And I wouldn't be the person who I am today had I not gone through that. Had I not had all these health challenges, I would not be able to relate to people who have health challenges, who've been through in like the dark night of the soul. I wouldn't be able to relate at the depth. I wouldn't have the compassion that I have for people. I used to, when I was younger, when I was really little, old folks, they would complain about all their aches and pains, and I thought they were doing that to try to get attention. And now I understand that's not the case at all. It's, aches and pains are real. Like they can really challenge us to live in the moment when we have that much pain going through our bodies. It's really hard to be present. It's really hard to create when you're in that much pain. So I have so much compassion for people who are in pain. And I also understand, because of what I've gone through, like I love understanding the body now, like how we can heal ourselves. And I'm healthier in so many ways than I've ever been in my life. I have more energy now. Like if you met me in 2019, like if you saw me on stage, you might not be able to see, because I would be able to just channel the light so much that you couldn't tell necessarily how much I was struggling back then. But if you hung out in my kitchen with me, you would have understood that I had a lot of problems, with my energy and with my life force. And where I am now is just, I can't even, give enough gratitude and thanks to all the people who have really brought their knowledge forward about the body, and all that we can do to heal ourselves. Along with, I have ultimate gratitude for what I call my frequencies that started coming to me after my Kundalini awakening and teaching me how to heal myself inside out. And we are every single one of us here, is made to access source inside out, be able to access that self-healing. And that's incredible. So I wouldn't be able to sit here and share all of that had I not gone through it either. Because now I'm like, we can heal ourselves, we can take these massive messes and obstacles and turn them into opportunities and our message, and in fact, it's made my life that much more meaningful. And I feel like I have that much more purpose because of it. Like I know that I can help people at the deep of the deep now, and I didn't have that awareness like I do now, and I don't. It's like I feel like I was made for this time on the planet, and all that we're going through and the challenge that we're going through. I'm hyped, like in the sense of I know that that I'm here to help and to support others who are going through really big challenges and health crises. Because it's like, dang, to go through a cancer challenge the way I have, and been told that I needed a mastectomy, and to be sitting here and going, it's gone. Like what was on the MRI, gone, poof, and know that we have that capacity, and not to say that, that I'm going to be able to do that every time. I know it's like I feel like I'm a cat that has 9 lives, but all at the same time, I know if we want to be in our bodies and it's not our time, because sometimes we don't know what our time is. Like our personality doesn't know if it's time for us to go back into that oneness. But if we want to be here and it's right to be here, then we can do a lot of things to shift our path and to align with our soul's purpose and align with our own self-healing. So I'm so grateful, to be where I am now. I'm so grateful to be able to share with all you beloveds, out there. I just love this community so much. And I'm so grateful that you create this opportunity for us to all come together, Scott, in the way that you do, to create such sacred community for us to get to share these things, to uplift and inspire each other.
Larissa, we talked about it once before, maybe, I don't know, a year ago, but I would love for you to share. One of the things that impressed me is that when you faced a recent health challenge, instead of going into panic and fear, you actually moved toward it. It reminds me of first responders. When they study the brains of first responders, most human beings, when a danger comes up, we go into flight, we run away. A first responder goes towards the danger. And when you had a very scary diagnosis, you went towards it with courage and met it in a powerful way and resolved it. And that, to me, is just one of the most amazing stories of any of my friends of the past few years. You don't need to go into all the details, but can you share with our audience how did you find the courage? How did you find the direction to move toward it, as opposed to going into contraction of fear?
I believe that every time even though I've had this, I came in with a major health challenge of having my hormones be so out of whack. I believe that every time my body goes into crisis, that there's always something that I need to learn from it. It's almost like I know that there's something in my unconscious that like a treasure that I need to excavate. And I know that there's something in me that needs to shift in my awareness. I believe, honestly, even though that I have a very sensitive body, a very sensitive system, all the things that have come up have been related. Like I could tie it back to something when I got really honest with myself. Every single time I'm like, okay, we got to get in here. Is there any part of me that is opting out of life? Is there any part of me that is not wanting to be here? And even if 99% of myself wants to be here, if there's 1% of myself that doesn't, I'm so physically sensitive that it's like I have to find that. I have to take responsibility. I can't look on the outside of myself. I have to look on the inside of myself to see what I am maybe I'm not seeing, and maybe I don't want to see. So I ask myself questions like, what do you not want to see about yourself opting out right now? Is there something in your life that you aren't outrageously excited about? If there's something that I'm avoiding looking at, in my life, be it relationships or relationship with myself, because I've had definitely parts of my life that I've resisted. And I think that's it. It's like, I feel like kind of like a pit bull in that way. It's like, I don't want to be unconscious about the parts of me that don't want to be here. So that has been like just going right into that. Like, let me look at it. So you could call that shadow work. And I think that we have, all of us, if you're human, you've got shadow. Why do we have shadow? Well, first of all, we're organisms that grow. We're growing organisms. And every growing organism needs shadow to actually grow. No shadow, no growth. So to recognize and to even celebrate that the parts of us that are in the shadow, the parts of us that are unconscious, are the very things the places within ourselves where we have massive potential to grow. And that's what I love. I love doing that. I love looking at the shadow within myself. What am I not seeing? where's my potential for growth here? And I love doing that for other people. Like I love that stuff. Like perhaps that's why, Scott, like when others like go away from the darkness, I'm like, take me into the darkness because I want to see. I look at this life kind of like a video game in a sense. I mean, like a really challenging one that has a whole lot of heart, like so worthwhile, like the most worthwhile video game ever. And it's like, this is my opportunity to just to face and to go in like a warrior, like a full-on warrior. And look at myself honestly. I love to be honest with myself. I love to be honest with others. I feel like it creates deeper intimacy. I love it when people share their shadow stuff with me. I'm very passionate about it. I love the human. I love our humanity so much. I just do. I really do.
She talks about going to the shadows. She literally did a 4-day dark retreat. For those of you who have heard of dark retreats, where she spent 4 days in total darkness and came out of it healed. So we will hear more from Larissa. There are some beautiful comments coming in, and I'm going to read just a few of them. You've got in about a dozen, but Dia Therese writes, Larissa, dear sister, thank you from the deepest spot in my heart for so eloquently expressing the story that I myself have lived for 8 decades. You are a gift to us, this global peace tribe, all beings. And Pachamama, blessed woman, thank you, thank you, thank you. Charlotte writes, thank you for sharing your journey so honestly and with your beautiful open heart. We love you, Larissa. And Susan Bloomquist quoted you, take the bull by the horns. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm grateful. I'm grateful if there's any part of my story that can touch somebody else and ignite and catalyze. That makes my life more on purpose, So I love that. I think we all love that.
You get to be here on kind of a special night because, of course, you're here and you see Omashar, who plays wonderful music. But tonight I've asked Omashar to not just play music, but to share his story, a little bit about what he maybe has had to overcome. So, beloved brother, first of all, thank you for being who you are. Whatever your journey has been that's led you to the beautiful heart that you are, the beautiful devotion to our community that you provide, of course, the beautiful music you provide. I saw that beautiful heart of yours a few days ago at the memorial for Shri when the tears were there. Whatever your journey has been, I honor your journey, my brother.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, I do feel in retrospect that my heart is becoming a diamond. I've lived a very blessed life from one perspective. I've traveled around the world, 36 countries, just on the seat of my music without any advertising whatsoever. And it was very interesting that you put at the beginning of the topic for this week. I have a fridge magnet, which my hometown of Stratford-upon-Avon in England, of course, is Shakespeare's theatre and his whole deal there. And you can buy these little fridge magnets in the theatre there. And it says, above all else, to thine own self be true. And so I carry this around me wherever I travel, and I attempt to remember it. Most of the heartbreak in my life has been caused by death. The death of my grandparents, the death of my father, and on a lesser scale, my broken relationships have cracked my heart open, and I've tried to pave them over. But as soon as I started really fully getting into the work on myself, then I realized I should not start paving them over, but actually go into them, as our beautiful Larissa has shared. And my mind is trying to push me away from what I'm trying to share, but I'm just going to dive into it because I've never shared it with anybody. And I'm just going to mute somebody. And I have a daughter. She's just turned 16. At 11 years old, I was her kind of Mr. Mum for about 7 years. Her mum was in the scene, but I had the majority of looking after her at that time. And I became so deeply woven with this beautiful young girl. Absolutely, she was my life. I would have, there's a song, you jump in front of a bus with this person. So we know that one. But I'm going to do something for a minute here. So there we go. Great. There's this glitch in Zoom which makes me laggy. I found out how to fix it. There it is. Anyway, so she overnight decided to go and live with a mum and turn her back on me completely, and without any communication. Everything was shut off 100%, and I was absolutely gutted, completely broken, heartbroken. I was sobbing in my pillow every time I came home from my gardening work at that time. Just wondering why, and there's a lot of story around it, but basically I was crushed in a way that I never knew that I could be so crushed. But of course that came partially through the attachment that I had for this beautiful girl, who's now a beautiful young woman, who we still don't communicate, even though I have tried, but that doesn't really matter. And so what happened I guess just a couple of years ago was that I had had enough of everything, and I decided to have a tech week off and go and stay in a hotel somewhere and just have a time by myself, turned off all internet, turned off all computers, everything, no TV, nothing. And what happened before I went to this hotel was that I'd got a taxi to take me there. And this woman and the taxi driver had got her taxi stuck in a field, a paddock of mud, and I got the taxi out for her. But on the way out, we had a little mishap, and one of the wing mirrors got hit on a post because it was all muddy. But anyway, long story short, she reported that I had damaged her taxi to the police, to her boss. And then her boss reported to the police. But what I didn't know this was all happening. I ended up, she basically dropped me off at a hotel where I stayed for a week. But meanwhile, there was a story happening, which is what happens when you're not present and you don't have a phone. I left my phone and everything. And so suddenly the taxi driver's owner of the taxi reported me as a person that had damaged this vehicle to the police, and I had gone off. I'd gone bush, as they say in Australia, to have a time with myself. And so I was having the time of my life in this beautiful resort hotel, swimming pool, feet up, just cheese and cups of tea and crackers. And the story was happening. My son was trying to get hold of me, and he thought I'd gone missing. People on the island were trying to get hold of me. They thought I'd gone missing. So they put out a police report. Omar Shah is missing. The taxi driver person said to the police, this guy has damaged our taxi. The police put together that I was now ducking from the law and hiding in a hotel. I don't know how to say this succinctly or I'm trying to make it as short as possible because there's a huge amount of emotion here with it. And so basically what was happening was suddenly there was a report out that Omar Shah is missing, and there's a report for him, and he's now a wanted criminal, a wanted fugitive. This is all happening, I was sitting by a pool with my drinks and yay, yummy, and having a lovely break from my grief at that time. Anyway, next thing I knew, I was scooped up from my hotel, this is a long story short, by the police, taken. I was then beaten up by them. I had my head smashed into a concrete ground, and I had a big scar on my face. And basically, I then ended up in a hospital, and then ended up being drugged, and then ended up having a head CAT scan without my permission. And when I woke up, I was in a police cell, in a freezing police cell with a pair of shorts, and then carted off with an orange suit and chains to a jail. And then when I appeared in court, the police had thought that I was a fugitive and I was such a bad boy that they'd thrown the book at me, and I was up for 20 years in prison, federal offenses. Long story short, it didn't happen. I got off and got out of there. But I was in jail for 3 weeks until we got this sorted out. What it did was strip me of everything, man. I lost my joy. I lost my desire to live. I found myself in a cell in a prison with rapists and murderers and the most highness of society. And I'm a person that wakes up and meditates and looks at the sun and does sun breath, la la la. So this knocked everything, my feet, my ground, I didn't want to do anything. No music, nothing, bugger everything. I'd lost my daughter, I'd lost my best friends, all of the closest friends around me had just scattered. All of my community didn't know whether I was a good boy or a bad boy. And I'd spent almost 18 years building this community up, or building my presence up with this community. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because this song came out of it, and I think we're in time, Scott. Yes, and I had to recover my sense of self. And I'm not at all glad that this happened, but I know that if it hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have had the impetus to search. I've been on a spiritual path, let's say, forever, probably since I was, well, for many lifetimes, but definitely since I was 17. But this fine-tuned me. What is this? I was brought up in a society in England of anal retentive British people. I was brought up with an umbrella of guilt and shame, and what this little situation that happened just recently that found me in a prison brought up was, again, you've been blamed for something that you didn't do, and this is the guilt thing. And so therefore I'm not imagining, I know that there's just in my field, there's this guilt that I've repeated through my life, not from having done anything, but it was just instilled with me. You're a child, be seen and not heard. You cannot rise to anything in your life. Whatever you do, watch out, because you're going to be in trouble, whatever it is. But it had snowballed in my psyche because I hadn't dealt with it ever. And it had manifested in what it manifested in, with the loss of my daughter. I mean, not loss, she's still alive and she's beautiful and healthy and all of that, and the situation I was in. And so I have had to choose, I have chosen to forgive everybody. And that's massive. Just because, forgive them, they know what they do, know what they did. Forgive me because I did not know what I did. I don't know if there's anything more I can put into it, but I have recovered and I'm way stronger, and I'm absolutely glad to be able to have a voice. But I find that I can't talk trite stuff generally. If I have a passion about something, I can speak with a bit of eloquence. Otherwise, I have to sing it. And so I'm going to do that. And then I think Nicholas will be with us. Scott.
I just want to say, I want to slow down for a moment.
Yeah.
Because we love you so much.
Yes.
And we haven't heard the story before.
Yes.
And my daughter Louise on too. It's a powerful story. Powerful story, I'm sure. And I want to acknowledge how powerful it is that you're not bitter, to have had such a horrific experience when you were innocent, and to come out of it with as much love for life, the amazing songs that you create, and to not be bitter, but to be the beautiful bright light that you are. That is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, and the biggest challenge has been forgiving the folks closest to me who distanced themselves from me, and were a part of why it happened. And I have managed it. I haven't met with these people yet. Do I want to? Not really. If I have to, I will. However, it is only through knowing that the only source of creation is in here, our source of creation. And every single day I enfold myself back into that. Every day is a weeding for me. Every breath, every thought is a weeding. A decade ago, I didn't ever think that I could be at this place where I could actually be like conscious of my thought structures. But we have to, because we know now that that which we think and feel, we create. Duh. However, we weren't given a manual when we came in, except we were given a manual when we came in, and that's a double entendre right there. So,
Mashar, on behalf of all of us, thank you for sharing your story. I think it's such a gift for all of us to be able to receive you in this way, to receive like your full humanity. Thank you for your vulnerability. I have a sense that you sharing this today was really important for you, and like an even deeper healing, to let this just like even more be cleansed in the share of it. And we're here for you, all of us. I feel like I can speak for all of us, that we're really grateful that you felt safe and ready, to share such a traumatic, like an intensely traumatic experience, and to share your heart. We know who you are. I just want to say, we know who you are. You are such a beautiful light in this world. And it's like, now I can feel that you, even in sharing this story and feeling safe enough, that it's like you're able to receive yourself at an even deeper level. Like, the core of the core, who you are, and being true to yourself.
Yes, I had a long forewarning of what we were going to do tonight about 5 minutes before the show started. So I thought, what is, and it just came to me, and I thought, well, don't even deny it, brother me. Just share it and see how it comes out, because I hadn't formatted anything or written anything down. And so there's the nutshell. And I'm gonna play a song which was out of all of this. You've heard it before, but it's relevant for now. Love you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to just mute a couple of folks. And I'm going to do this.
Just when you think that all is lost, and the curtain looks to fall, perhaps it's just the song of home that calls, and your trust in life exposed. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. Another day is here for you to live. I'll walk it through with you. There is no doubt your heart is pure and true. So I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. I am in all that you will see. Have trust in your life and trust in me. Dust yourself down and I'll lift you up. I will fill your loving cup. Just when you thought that all was lost, I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me.
Well, beloved brother, there are a lot of messages for you to read in the chat box. Definitely make sure.
There's, as Larissa was saying, there's something, that was a story I never thought I'd ever share, because it was like, along with it came some shame. However, thank you.
Drake posted something just now. I read comments, but I'm going to leave 30 people out because there's 30 comments. But I am going to read what Don just put in. Hardship is not a punishment or bad karma. It's the tuition we pay when we enroll in and embrace the school of life.
Love it. Yeah,
Right
thank
on.
you.
Well, we are going to go to, and by the way, everybody get ready. It's going to be a longer show tonight. We've got so many amazing people, so it's going to be a longer show. We are going to go to our beautiful beloved brother, Nicholas, who blesses us almost every Wednesday night with meditation. But just as almost shared his story, Nicholas, I would love for you to share with us anything you wish to share about an obstacle you've had to overcome to live your life of being a yogini and as dedicated to your yoga as you are.
Yes, I would. It feels of divine synchronicity. And before coming on, I was just tuning in. And about 10 minutes before I jumped on, I was feeling a lot in my heart. I felt something special was going to happen. And Om Shai, I always knew that we were soul bros, but now I really feel it and know it. And we go through things, and we often hear in life that I know what you're going through, and I know what you experienced, and I can relate in my own ways, for I also found myself in jail. And it was in jail, the toughest time in my life, that also birthed who I am and who I am becoming today and day by day. I had 30 days in jail, and I can only imagine going in there in the unknown. I knew I had 30 days, and I put my head down, and miracles took place that to this day I'm in awe of. Going into jail, I pretty much had to fight for my life, for my well-being the first few days. And there were some guardian angels that came my way truly and protected me. And I was able to devote myself to God. And I began reading the Bible 24/7. And I never looked back. Going into jail and that experience where, in a way, you are just a number, in the shame, in the guilt. I feel you, brother. And to this day, it's something that is still in my field that I'm working on. Particularly for me, I will acknowledge I was acting up. I was misbehaving. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia, running the streets, causing trouble. And luckily, basketball was my one thing that got me through. And made my way to college, but I was hustling and getting into trouble. And my best friend at the time, well, he had gotten himself into trouble, and he set me up. And long story short, I woke up to 15 DEA agents running in my house, and the whole story. It was something else. I found myself face down on the ground with a shotgun to the back of my head, saying the game was over. And I was just 19 years old, and I was just messing around, fooling around, and it was the wake-up call, and the plug was pulled in my life and who I thought I knew myself to be. And got kicked out of school, any scholarship, had to go back to home and go to jail. And the shame was tremendous. I was, with the misbehaving of money in particular, I find myself as a man and relating to money, still working on this wound. So I just want to send that love to you. When you were sharing, I couldn't help but feel myself in bliss, because I also know that it's people like you showing up to do this work that is going to change the world. And it's not just about us in our lives, but the generations to come. And to go through these trials and tribulations, it takes a true spiritual warrior. So I bow to you and honor you, brother. And yes, I believe in what's possible. And I know that we shall rise above, stronger than ever. So that was my experience, Scott, that really shifted me, that I was sharing a synchronistic way with the energy. And it's pretty, how about that? That's something, huh?
Isn't that something? And I did not know Omashar's story before tonight. I didn't know your story before tonight. So how perfect that he spontaneously shared it, and it gives you a chance to go, wow, another brother that's beautiful and sensitive and gentle. And again, this show is just going into an incredible direction. And I just am really grateful for everybody's openness, their honesty, and their vulnerability.
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. There's a lot of courage here. Like, it was so courageous of Omashar to share, courageous of you to share. It's like the more we all share from that place of vulnerability, the more we really have an ability to impact each other, to inspire each other, and to let go of that shame spiral, that we get in. We don't need that anymore, because we're all human, and we all move through the contractions into the eventual expansion. That's being human. So thank you for sharing yourself. I'm blown away by this. So this is amazing. Really beautiful.
Well, with that, Nicholas, I would love for you to lead whatever meditation flows through you tonight.
Okay. Okay, something just came through. There's a book. The book is called We're All Doing Time. It's a book by a man that dedicated himself to doing prison work in the cities. And he realized, in some way, shape, or form, symbolically, we all put ourselves in our own little prison, if you get what I'm hinting at. For life happens to us. We do get our butt kicks here on this earth, but we don't have to shame ourselves. And in the higher perspective, we know that all is forgiven. And in circles like this, in communion, we remember that it's all right. That, it's going to be all right. We all go through some battles. So let's break this prison. Let's take a moment to go within and close our eyes. Let's bring our hands over our heart. And as we know, the body never lies. Feel the breath. Feel the breath move through the body. Come into your heart and ask your heart, are you truly happy? Are you truly free? And ask your heart if it wants to show you anything in this moment, anything you might be holding on to that's creating a limitation in a way, like a little prison. Any beliefs, any stories. What is it? We take a few moments with the breath, with the body, not seeking for any shadows, but just seeing what might arrive, what might want to be released, some more freedom and space. Anywhere we can bite and forget in a little forgiveness, a little grace. Can we bring a bit of kindness and warmth? Maybe tell yourself how much you love yourself. A nice little pat on the back. For this gift of life, far too precious to let it pass by. In these moments together, may we give ourselves the permission to be free, to be all in on the journey, no matter what, keeping up, heart open. And then let's release the hands from the heart. Keep the elbows resting to the sides as the palms face up. In the symbolism of this freedom, this openness. And the power of choice and saying yes. Yes to life. Yes to the possibility in each moment. Yes to taking responsibility for our lives. For in that responsibility, there's an empowerment. And now let's unite palms together, heart center. And remembering in the great play of life that the only way out is in. And to get through it, you gotta get into it. And that's the courage. That's the grit. That's the good stuff. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Let's bring the thumbs to forehead and bowing to the spiritual warrior within, bowing to the spiritual warriors in this community, across the globe, stronger together. And we rise and I give thanks to all of you and sending all my love.
Well, Nicholas, tonight is clearly one of those rather magical nights because you talked about the book We're All Doing Time, which was written by Bo Lozoff. And for me, Bo is one of my favorite writers. The book was very meaningful for me. But even more than that, I'm going to turn it over to Larissa Stowe and what she has to say about Bo Lozoff.
Oh my God, Bo Lozoff was one of the biggest inspirations in my life. I was so inspired by his work that I went and spent time with him in North Carolina at the Human Kindness Foundation. And it inspired me to want to go into prisons and jails as well, and to sing and to bring the music ministry into prisons and jails. Because like you're saying, we all, like what he taught so eloquently is that we truly are all doing time in the sense of the ways that we shame ourselves. And as you talked about, like what prison, are we experiencing in our lives? Where can we break free in our lives? And I have so much compassion for people who have gone into jail and prison. My uncle spent most of his life in jail and prison, and I love my uncle very much. So I had ultimate compassion for him, and just understand that prisoners, for the most part, are the most sensitive people ever, and when those sensitivities, when we get overwhelmed and not know how to deal with that, it can come out sideways. So as we have compassion for ourselves and for others who are very sensitive, we'll heal ourselves and the planet. So yeah, thank you, Scott, I love Bo. He's no longer in his body, but man, he's such a huge inspiration. And his wife, Sita, is an incredible inspiration as well. So touching, amazing beings.
It was amazing that you brought that in, Nicholas. It was like, okay, there's like yeah.
Yeah, if I can make such a claim, I would say that his spirit is definitely dropping in and hanging out with all of us right now.
Totally.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bo. Love you, man.
Yeah, we love you. Love you.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you, Nicholas. We'll see you next week, brother.
Okay, next week.
Well, this is one of those shows, and I'm really looking forward to introducing all of you to our next guest. And this is Molly Knight. And I first discovered her because, as a Dodger fan, I read her book called The Best Team Money Can Buy, all about the Dodgers. Learned all about my heroes, all the inside stories, because she'd been following them. Then I subscribed to her newsletter. And then she was leading The Artist's Journey, that wonderful book program. And I heard her talking about her physical challenges that she just recently gone through. And I knew by then that we were going to be doing this particular show. And I said, Molly, would you be willing to be on the show? And she said, yes. So Molly, welcome to the Global Peace Tribe. Welcome to the Awakening World. And love to hear your story and have you share whatever you want to share with our audience.
Well, first of all, this hour so far has been incredibly powerful for me. It's my first time here, so I had no idea what to expect, but I was just in fighting back tears, which is unusual for me when I'm in a good headspace, which I am right now. But I realized because I've been in a good I have a history of a tendency towards periods of my life when I experienced depression and anxiety, and I realized that when I'm in a relatively okay spot, I don't want to feel I try not to let myself feel those emotions. And my oldest friend had surgery for breast cancer yesterday, and this was this hour was like the first time I even shed a tear about it, since I've known for the last couple of weeks that she's facing quite a road ahead. And so that was just really powerful for me, and a reminder that I still can I don't have to put judgment on tears and grief and fear and all those things. I can allow myself to feel them in ways that don't swallow me and take me out of the gratitude and the presence that I'm feeling in my life right now, that I can hold both. And I'm just so grateful for this space. It feels like a very sacred space. So thank you for having me. And also, I too feel a synchronicity with the prison metaphor. I've not been incarcerated myself, but after a lifetime of excellent health and being aware that being grateful for having excellent health, I caught COVID and didn't think much of it, and then it got worse and worse and worse, and I was, for the first time in my life, really, really sick. It wasn't, I wasn't hospitalized, although I was in the ER over and over again, which was also humbling because it's never been my reality. And I saw what happens when doctors don't know what to do with you, and they know something's not right, but they can't pinpoint it, and the frustration and not being able to walk, really not being able to drive, them figuring out something's wrong with the way your body's regulating, your metabolic processes, as Larissa was saying. Your heart's not beating the right way, your brain's not sending the thing, whatever it is. And so then putting me on heart failure medicine, and then, having to move, being someone who's so independent, having to move back in with my mother because I couldn't drive. And I couldn't, I couldn't really, she was the only one who was home and not working, and to be able to watch me in case I passed out and hit my head. And it was just, this went on for months, and I just felt like I was in a prison. And the only thing that saved me, strangely enough, from spiraling into horrible, panic disorder or depression was the brain fog. I would have like 15 minutes a day where I would collapse into hysterics. And then it's like I was drugged or stoned or something. And, which wound up being a blessing because it short circuited my like ability to overthink. It was truly humbling though. And I didn't know if I'd ever be able to go to a concert again or go to a stadium. I work in baseball stadiums and other places. I wasn't able to fly. I wasn't able to do anything. And for months this went on, and really only in the last, I got sick a year and a half ago, and really only in the last 2 months have I been myself again. But I know I've taken care of people who have been ill or disabled for a long time in my family and different friends. I'm a caregiver by nature, and it was really, really hard being with the shoe on the other foot and having to ask for help. But I wouldn't go through it again. It's like what Almashar said. I wouldn't choose it again, but it has made me so grateful. And in a weird way, it's helped with my mental health stuff because when I started to get better, I would keep track of my progress and write down things I was grateful for. Like I was grateful to be able to walk into CVS. I was grateful to drive a car again. I was grateful, all these things. And so now I really try to focus on gratitude and look at little things. My ideas, everything I thought I knew about wealth. I mean, for me, it's like, I'm very clear that health is wealth. And I am now, I've changed the way that I've also realized that how important exercise is, but it's different than what I thought before. I do it for my mental health, and I do it because I want to get stronger, because I would like to live well for as long as I can. So it's an emphasis on building strength so that hopefully if I make it to 70, 80, even 90, I will be able to do the little things I enjoy doing, picking up and doing little tasks, and I won't be as dependent as maybe I would have been before. So I don't know, physical therapy really helped me, and it was really humbling, but I just, I never think I was gonna get better, and I'm not 100% back, but I am in really good shape right now. So I wanted to offer that little sliver of hope, because I know what it's like to be staring into the abyss. And yeah, I don't know. There's still things that are probably not back to normal. They really don't even know what COVID has done to us, or metabolically, or what that looks like long term. But through patience, it's gotten better.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is it's very hard to be a sports writer in today's world. I mean, Sports Illustrated, which we all grew up with, went out of business last week.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because you've had to be an entrepreneur. You've had to create the long game and Substack, and you've had to be an entrepreneur at a time that you were battling physical health.
Yeah.
And
I would not recommend that. I would not recommend launching a business 6 months before debilitating in a pandemic.
How did you do it, and how do you stay with it? Because
Yeah,
I really am fascinated. I'm curious. How did you do that?
for me, it was a real lesson in trying to figure out how to be gentle with myself, because I still had the old mindset of like, oh my God, you aren't doing this, you aren't doing that, you aren't writing this much, you don't have this many subscribers, your income isn't going to be exactly where you want it to be. And then I was like, wait, hold up. I can't even walk to the end of my block, let alone get into my car, drive to the airport, get on a plane, go to the World Series, be around 50,000 people, and break the news about some star athlete. Like do not compare where you are to where someone else is, and just continue to improve. Like, is your business, is everything, was it better than it was a week ago? Yes. Okay. And you just keep going, and you just keep going, and you just keep going, and you just keep going. Like, I launched it, it's 2.5 years old. I was sick for a huge chunk of that. Is it where, when I launched it, is it where I hoped it would be in 2.5 years? No. Has it been growing a ton every year? Yes. So I had this conversation with my editor yesterday when I realized, like, this is the first season since 2019, since before the pandemic, where I will going into spring training feeling physically able to do it. And because it wasn't even open, the locker rooms and all that weren't even open to media in 2020 and 2021. So, and I got sick at the All-Star game in 2022, which was the first major baseball event I was able to attend that year. So anyway, this is the first time in 5 seasons that I've been like, I'm ready to go. And what a blessing that is. And like, maybe I can, after this year is done, God willing, I stay healthy, and and my mental health challenges seem stable, then I can say, okay, how'd you do this year? I'm just trying to be gentle with myself, which is the lesson of my life that keeps showing up, as so many of you have so eloquently said, over and over and over, it'll keep showing up. And that's just our shadow, the shadow work that I have to do to, when those feelings of guilt and shame and fear and everything come up, to feel them, and to not then have the second layer, the judgment. But it's a daily, I told myself when I started out in this field that I was never gonna because being a woman is also a challenge. And I told myself, it's such a male dominated field, that I was never gonna even think about it and pretend like it didn't exist. And then I realized I was gaslighting myself. It was better to acknowledge it to feel it when there have been times I've been, mistreated or targeted or whatever. And to also honor that because of my experience as a woman in this world, that I would have a different perspective on things, which gives people maybe a different reason to read me or to follow me or to be nice to me or whatever. I mean, I get the people who are just awful, but then I get people who are wonderful, who want to support women, who want to support, so it's both. To not pretend that it doesn't exist, I think, is the mistake.
Molly, there's a question. Susan wants to ask you, did your health journey then give you better boundaries for yourself?
I think can we get a follow up on what she means by boundaries? I think the answer is yes. But
Sounds like.
in terms of what I am physically capable of doing, yes. Sometimes I am wondering if I'm really tired or if I'm being lazy. And realizing that sometimes I might not know the answer, but I will listen to my body more likely. I become much better at saying no, and understanding that no is a complete sentence, when it needs to be, and or whenever. Yes. And I think when we start to realize that how we cannot treat others well until we treat ourselves well, that was a huge, as a caretaker by nature, that was a huge, huge lesson for me. Oxygen masks first. I am not going to be my best self caring for my mother or my aunt or my sister's kids or whatever if I am in a bad mood, if I'm frustrated and anxious and not feeling well.
Molly, what I hear you saying is that you've really grown in this compassion for yourself. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like I hear you saying that you're becoming very aware of your body, very aware of massive self-awareness and kindness, being gentle with yourself. And that's such a great example for all of us because we're not really taught to do that. And I would ask you, with that too, just because we can learn so much from your story and your experience. Like if you, as you go out throughout your day, what do you prioritize? Like what are the priorities, and every day? What do you put your focus on and your awareness on?
I would just say I've noticed some shifts. I am by nature type A. I mean, I was a straight A student. My dream in life was to go to Stanford and I somehow made it happen. But then by 20, I was so burnt out on all the knots I had tied myself into. That's when my body was just like, no. And I started having panic attacks out of nowhere. And I was doing well in school. I was just done with all of the staying up all night to study. So for me, I think sleep is a really, really big thing. I just go to bed, when I'm tired and I sleep. I was looking at my iPhone last night. I averaged 9 hours of sleep. I've been averaging 9 hours of sleep this month. That's like my
Woohoo!
my life record. And I kind of had this feeling of like weird, like Puritan American capitalist guilt over that. And then I was like, well, why wouldn't I do that? I don't have children. I'm my own boss. I
And your
don't
body needs it. Your body is,
body needs-
and that's what I hear you saying loud and clear to all of us is that listening to your body and you're honoring. It's a love, it's compassion for yourself. So
I'm just
yay.
Yeah, the one other thing is it's so liberating to go to I noticed exercise is so key for my mental health. And going to an exercise class now and being like, there's some things my body can't do. That's okay. I'm not going to injure myself trying to get into this crazy yoga pose. I'm going to do a child's pose and I'm not going to, that's just where my body is today. And that has been really liberating as well. So yoga is just wonderful for all that stuff.
I love how you're sharing, about your journey and and not putting yourself into positions that aren't healthy for you. Because I'm curious how a lot of us get sick in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, I see a pattern that a lot of times we're focusing more on the outside, you know, and on trying to meet what the world wants of us rather than really meeting ourselves.
Yeah,
And
we won't get into it because it's too much, but I was for sure carrying a lot of unresolved trauma as well, from things, from a lot of death and loss during the pandemic, people around me. And so I know I can't say that that's 100% why I got long COVID, but I know it didn't help.
yeah, thank
There's a
you.
question.
Yeah.
There's a question from Sylvia. She asks, Molly, do you have particular communities or practices that nourish you in this process that you've been
Yeah.
in?
So I've been reading this, been working this book, The Artist's Way. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing this. By Julia Cameron. And I have a group through my Substack, my newsletter. We meet every Saturday, and sometimes we talk about baseball, and sometimes we talk about what we're dealing with in our lives and what we're working on creatively. I find creativity is my connection to the universe or God, whatever works for you. And so when I'm blocked creatively, it makes my life much more challenging. So I really focus on that. I try to journal 3 pages in this notebook every morning, even if it's just a list of things I'm annoyed with. That's my spiritual practice. And then exercise, connecting with my body, and deep box breathing and focusing on the out breath. That's what so it's trying to do fellowship with others, journaling, and exercise.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Well, we're going to hear more from Molly and all of our presenters. We're going to have a question and answer period. So I'm going to save a couple of questions for that. But I want to encourage everybody. I'm a subscriber to The Long Game, and I just really enjoy her writing. And you don't even have to be a sports fan. I mean, it helps. I'm kind of a sports fan. But at the very least, I encourage you to subscribe. And it's easy. Just go to her name, Molly Knight, substack.com, Molly Knight, substack.com. Pop in your email address. I'm going to put it in there, even though I actually am already on a couple of your email lists. But kind of demonstrating it for everybody watching home on Facebook. Subscribe. And she's a wonderful writer. And now you know her, you know the beautiful heart inside the hand that is writing, or the fingers that are bouncing on the keyboard. And we'll hear more from Molly in a little bit. Thank you for being with us. Yeah. Well, we have another new friend that I'm just getting to know. And so I'm going to put the spotlight on our new friend, Jesse Epps. And obviously, as you can easily see, Jesse is a guitar player. He talks about how his father put a guitar in his hands at age 11 and the great love affair began. And around age 23 is when he really went into a profound spiritual awakening and has been diving deep into relationship to all things. He had mentioned in writing to me that Bashar is someone that he really enjoys. And of course, we've had Daryl Anka and Bashar on the show a few times. And he understands about tuning the guitar away from standard 440 hertz into the more harmonic, and some believe spiritually enlivening 528 hertz. So we might hear a little bit about how he's working with the healing frequencies of 528. And he's also an embodiment coach. Now, Molly was just talking about how the somatic experience of her physical exercise really was necessary for her mental healing, her emotional healing, her physical healing. So embodiment is a big part of what a lot of our presenters over the past 4 years have shared. So, Jesse, welcome to the Awakening World.
Thank you.
And we'd like to hear whatever you'd like to share tonight.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for being here. I would love to just share a little bit about my life story. and what's got me to this point. For everything that we experience shapes who we are in this now. And yeah, so I was born, and about maybe 16 months after my brothers were born, identical twins. And I was still very young and still felt very much needed the attention from both my parents. And I very much internalized this experience. So I lashed out in this kind of thing, and they got divorced when I was 7 as well. So I essentially just was very sad and angry as a child. There were times when I was happy when I was doing kind of like creative pursuits, drawing, building things.
I have to run to the bathroom really fast. I'm on the show. That's okay.
Someone's mics on right now. Thanks.
Hey,
Yeah,
everybody, remember to keep yourselves muted. We all got to keep ourselves muted, everyone. Sorry, Jesse, please continue.
no worries. I'm just gonna take a breath. So yeah, I when I grew up, I was very rebellious, rebelling against everything, against teachers and parents and everything and everyone, essentially, because deep down I knew inside that when I looked around, this modern time for me felt very alien. Like, what is all this? What is this system? Why are people treating each other this way? It never really made sense to me. I just remember being a kid in school, standing like in the playground or something on my own and just looking up and just realizing like everything is backwards. It makes no sense. So yeah, I just kind of held this within for quite a while. I was given the guitar when I was 11, and that completely changed my life and transformed my being, because now I had an outlet for my emotions, where I had this really, really raw, powerful spiritual energy, but I didn't know how to contain it. So when I had the guitar, I was able to funnel it and channel it into something. So all the emotions that I would experience as a kid, they didn't have an outlet, and now they did. So I became absolutely enamored and in love with guitar. My dad put the guitar in my hands when I was 11 years old, and I've never looked back since. I've played pretty much every day for 20 years or so, and it's now my greatest passion. So yeah, somewhere down the line when I was about I think 20, when I finished high school, I went to university in Vancouver, British Columbia, and pursued classical guitar studies before I was into acoustic and metal and that kind of stuff. And this opened up this whole new world of music for me that I was just so excited for. And I've always been one that, like, when I have a passion for something, I'll just dive with my full energy into it with like single pointed focus. Um, for those who know anything about the Scorpio astrological symbol, I have 4 planets in Scorpio, so I have a lot of passion and a lot of intensity. And it was very necessary for me in my life to learn how to hone that, to just be able to function here, honestly. And yeah, so when I was 23, I started waking up and asking all the questions that we do. Who am I? Why am I here? What is all of this? So I dove very deep into meditative practices, many different forms of meditation and healing modalities, sound always being the one that stuck the most, breath, all kinds of different religious and spiritual teachings. And I never really identified with one in particular. I just sort of took something from each one that resonated with me and then put it into my heart. So I followed my own heart pretty much every step of the way. I've always been very strong in that. And yeah, so after I started to wake up, I really opened myself to the cosmos and to all that is. And I started to, I would say the greatest darkness that I've experienced and challenges that I've experienced in my life have been internal, just navigating like internal waters, deep ocean waters. And when I started to go very deep in spirituality, I exploded into the energy of love and just being this beam of love and this beacon of light for all. And it was and is a beautiful thing. And at that point, I hadn't learned to balance it with wisdom. So I found myself in all kinds of situations that weren't necessarily for my greatest and highest good, but that made me who I am today. Things like experiencing black magic, possession, all kinds of stuff, not knowing who you are, having voices in your head that are telling you to do things that you really don't want to do, but you don't know what to trust. So it was a lot of internal darkness. I traveled to Bali 3 times, and I've always been a very, very sensitive being, and my body reflects that. So when I went to Bali, each time I got quite sick. And at this point, I was very, very deep into my meditative practices and carried a lot of light, and my body was able to handle it. But when I went to Bali, my body became quite polluted from the water and the sort of like lack of cleanliness there that I experienced. And my body's frequency and the amount of light that I was intaking was too contrasting. So I actually ended up having each time I went, 2 times were near-death experiences where I very much went to the other side and was there for a short while, but it was completely out of my control. My heart was racing out of my chest like uncontrollably, and I had nothing to do but just sit back and see what happens, and basically just thought I was gonna die both times. And the third time it happened, I literally left this vessel for a few hours, and I was given the choice to come back, to return, and everything in my being didn't want to come back. At that point, I really didn't want to be here. I was done with just the density of earth and being in the amount of darkness I was experiencing. So I think on one level I sort of willed it, and that happened. And I just remember I was very much gone, but I was sort of still simultaneously present in the body. And I just felt these tears running down my face in this like absolute knowing that regardless of how much I wanted to leave, I had to stay here. I had to be here at this time to be an example. And I chose to be here, to be who I am, and to eventually become the leader that I am now becoming. And it was extremely challenging. My body had just riddled with parasites. So I had to eat in order to stay on Earth. But every time I ate, I was eating for a whole family, so my body was pretty much eating itself alive. That led to the death experience. And then after knowing that I had to come back, I came back. And then I basically built my body back up from the ground up for 1.5 to 2 years. And during that time, I felt like a baby again. I really felt like I was learning everything again for the first time. And although I still knew how to do things like walk and use my hands and all these things, it still felt sort of simultaneously new. And that was a very interesting experience. After all that was done, I found myself really learning how to deeply integrate shadow, to honor it. And Bashar's teachings from Daryl Anka has been probably my greatest aid in this life, I would say, as far as teachers go, if you will. The passion principle, following your passion with no insistence on the outcome, and just living that way. So really emulating how children live, but from a grounded adult perspective. And also when things come up within us, not to run from them, but like be fully present with them as much as you can, and be as one person said before, I don't recall if it was Larissa or Molly, but be the spiritual warrior, be that that person who just, anytime something comes up within them, to really be there with that and know that that is the most important thing to do. And I have a lot of courage in that sense. I've come very, very, very far internally. And although I've been alive, linearly speaking, for 32 years, I feel like I've been incarnated for like 8 lifetimes, 100 years. I feel I've been here. And it's a very deep experience that carries, a lot of depth and a lot of light and a lot of darkness as well. And so, my darkness has been very much spiritual and emotional. And now I'm sharing my gifts, sharing the music that I have that I've always had, but tuning my guitar to sound healing frequencies, so that even if people are hearing just music they think are hearing, they're actually being activated at a cellular level. This has been something that's been true for me in my experience. So I like to share that with the world in my performances. And now I live a very simple, humble, but exciting life. I just act on my passions. I'm very, very free. I sustain myself. I'm doing what I love to do and have been doing that for quite a few years now. And I'm very grateful to my parents for being rocks for me in this life in certain regards, different reasons for each one. I'm grateful for my deep, deep, intimate connection to spirit and to myself now, and learning to know thyself more always, because we must embrace never arriving, because we never will. We're infinite and everything goes on forever. So you just enjoy the ride and just do the best you can with what you have. And yeah, now I've come into a role of leadership in my community, which I've recently started to embrace. This is bringing new beautiful challenges, in particular with establishing firm boundaries and really knowing who I am and what my energy is willing to put into its field and consent to, if you will. And yeah, that's all I feel like sharing. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse, for sharing so much of your truth and so much of your experience. I'm blown away once again, like just by the depth of honesty, to share all of that with us, the whole journey, and your sensitivity. Like you talk about your sensitivity, and I know that plays such a huge role in your ability to be able to transmit music, on such a vibrational level. And that's the gift, right? It's the gift, and also sometimes it's the Achilles heel, that sensitivity as well. That you're doing such beautiful sharing with that sensitivity. And I wanted to ask you, because it was really interesting when you were sharing about your near-death experience and leaving and coming back. Why do you think that it was necessary for your soul to go through that extreme of an experience, to completely leave and then to come back again? What is that gift that you brought back on that hero's journey, so to speak, of going to the other side and bringing back that wisdom for all of us?
Many things. I would say the biggest one is that I have zero fear of death now. And I'm actually quite looking forward to it because I know what's on the other side. I'm in no rush to get there because I'm in love with this life and this experience. But now I'm at the point where the two realities, the spirit world and this world, feel so blurred. When I wake up from my dream at night, it just feels like I'm taking a plane ride. So it's very, very interesting, my experience now. And yeah, just to be able to share. I feel very strongly like the degree of darkness that we go through is a direct reflection of the degree of light that we're able to embody and to be able to be an example of the world, and then therefore to be able to show others to do the same if they choose to go down that path.
So you feel like that this is giving you that ability to be able to help others through that corridor of the darkness into the light, of seeing that as well.
Very much so. Yeah, like a great transmuter.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, because I know people have had that near-death experience, it can bring a lot of peace to people who are still in their bodies and may have some fear of death because they haven't had that near-death experience. Is there anything else that you could share with people here tonight that might bring, more peace into their hearts with their own passing or loved ones passing around them?
Very much so. The real truth of all of this is that we're actually dreaming right now as spirit. We're dreaming this into reality. So this in itself, as we experience, is a dream to spirit. So when we go to sleep at night, we're dreaming here and waking up as spirit. when we wake up here, we're waking up as like our human selves, but we're going to sleep in spirit. So it's really, we never leave spirit, if you want to say, and Bashar says this quite funnily most of the time, is that we're already dead. Like we're already in spirit, we're already in
It's
heaven.
fun.
We're literally just like projecting this bit of ourselves here. So like there's nothing to fear at all. It's the most beautiful thing. The most beautiful thing you've ever experienced here is magnified by 100, 1,000 when you're gone. Like because you're completely free. You're returning home and you can do whatever you want as spirit. You can come back here, you can go rest in source, you can go to different dimensions and different planets. You can do whatever you want to do. And this is just a very, very dense, crystallized, ice-like experience. And that's why it feels so challenging, is because we're not in a kindergarten, we're in an absolute master class. Like we're getting our PhD as souls here, you know? So it's
Right.
always gonna be like, you just gotta embrace the challenges and ride the waves, and they're gonna start like this, but then eventually they're gonna go like this as you become to crystallize and center yourself more and just know yourself more, your preferences and non-preferences. So you sort of streamline yourself.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's beautiful. We
Yeah,
needed to
Yes.
hear that.
my pleasure.
I love hearing you say that, Jesse, because I've also come to the conclusion that this is a dream world, and we all have our own individual dream within various collective dreams, and it's more complex, and the spider web is more complex than these little pea brains can imagine. But I do know that it's a dream world.
Mm.
And there's some comments from our audience that I want to read. Ayada writes, I met Jesse on Vancouver Island 2 years ago and was instantly struck by his authenticity and deeply loving spirit. I am thrilled that he is joining us tonight. And Ayada is one of our regulars. Dr. Laura writes, so happy that the light was able to prevail in your being. Eleanor Joy writes, thank you, Jesse, for your wonderful, inspiring message expressed with clarity. And Don Drake writes what I think all of us are thinking. Don says, hey, I want to love to hear Jesse play something. You got that guitar right there. So would you be willing to bless us with some song?
That'd be my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Original sound, brother.
Ah, yes. Thank you for the reminder. Let's see. So this is a piece of music that's very dear to my heart. One thing I didn't mention is that the 7 keys of music actually discovered are coordinated with the 7 physical chakras of the body. So in the musical scale from C to B are actually coordinated from the root to the crown chakra. So just with that being said, the key of this piece is D. So it would be coordinated with the sacral chakra. If anybody feels like tuning in there, you will most likely feel it anyway, but if you wish to, you can do so. Thank you. I'm going in now.
Thank you. Wow. Wow, that was so, so beautiful, like so beautiful and so sensitive.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
touching.
Thank you.
You know, I so love when we can weave music. And then we do every show. We always have music, Jesse, in the shows. But tonight's show has been so tender. The story's been so tender. And Jesse and I were trying to find a time for him to be on the show. We've been trying to find the right show for about 2 months. And of course, it just worked out to be tonight. And it's the perfect night for that quality of tenderness, given the subject matter and the presentations that we're hearing tonight.
Thank
Life
you.
is good. Life is good. And we're going to have actually one more musical piece from Jesse just at the very end. So thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We actually have one more presenter we still haven't even heard from yet. And this is someone that has become a friend of mine. And I think what I want to say about Liz, and she doesn't know that this is what I'm going to point out. I always like to surprise people, as I did with Omashar. Liz has the gift of sight. Liz sees other realms, other dimensions. She sees things that us mere muggles don't necessarily see. um, and that in itself is a beautiful thing. And I appreciate, Liz, that you have that gift, whatever it is that you've gone through to open those doors of perception. And then your courage in putting it out there and sharing what you see, because muggles tend to be offended that those with higher capacities can see that which they can't. And so muggles tend to want to crucify or stone or burn to the stake those that have those higher frequency powers. So I'm glad you haven't been stoned, burned to the stake, or crucified. You're still pretty healthy and doing well, which is a nice statement on how our world is evolving. But anyway, you are also an influencer, a shaman, a healer, truly a true Renaissance woman. So welcome to the awakening world.
Thank you, Scott. Never has there been a more fun introduction in my whole life.
Good.
And I just wanted to say the synchronicities continue. I also am a twin. My parents divorced at age 7, and I have been learning the guitar. And I've also had a near-death experience. So you put us in the perfect order tonight, Scott. The synchronicity relay. So in keeping with the theme of tonight, my journey would actually, it's a little different than most people's. I tried to work myself to death. And similar to Jesse, I always felt ever since I was young that there had to be a different way to live, and that I was convinced people were doing it wrong. But around age 18, I got in line and got on the corporate bandwagon, and I was very successful. I was a director of business development for tech companies. I was paid to speak at big events and flown all over the world, and the highest grossing sales rep in a global company. And I started to get very, very clear messages, and I didn't even know what intuition was at the time, but I just kept feeling like I need a change. I need a change. And I racked my brain at the time, my type A brain, that was like, everyone was like, you're doing great. This is what you do. You climb up this ladder and you try and make more money and you do all the things. And but there's this small, still inner voice that kept saying, you need a change. And I just kept not listening. I just kept on going. So in the way that Source works, Source said, okay, well, if you won't do the change, I'll do the change for you. So I was about to speak at our annual meeting, and I started to get these terrible pains in my stomach. And I'd actually kind of fudge the story a little bit. I'd been having these pains for several months, and I'd been losing weight and feeling very, very ill. And I'd seen several doctors, and they were just like, you're just stressed, just drink a bunch of water. And, you know, by how I look, they just write me off and be like, you're fine. And like literally my pencil skirt would turn into a circular skirt because it would rotate when I'd walk because I'd lost so much weight. And I was booked so solidly at speaking gigs and conferences and hosting events that when is there time to go to the doctor? And so I'm on my way to the annual meeting to speak, and I'm just crumpled up in a ball in the back of the room, telling my bosses, like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I think I need to leave. And they're like, oh, sure, go rest. And I'm like, no, I think I need to leave and like walk into the hospital. And so, you know, everyone's like, you're fine, you're fine. Just, so I went home and I rested for a few hours, and it just was getting worse and worse. So finally, I just walked into, to like where you would get like a CT scan or something. And I just said, hey, I need some imaging. and so, right then and there, as they were doing the test, they were like, everyone started to be all in a bustle around me. So I knew, okay, confirmed, I'm really sick. And they, rushed me to the ER, and, you know, they're putting things in and needles and whatever. And I'm just, at this point, I finally surrendered. Like my body just collapsed. Basically, it was a walking ND. I really should have been dead. And the doctor's like, oh, can I have your hand? And I thought, sure, okay, he's going to put another needle in or something. And he just starts shaking my hand, and he's like, you are a very tough woman. Which was really good to hear, because for months I'd heard, you're fine, you're fine. And I basically had full sepsis because my appendix had burst about 8 months prior, and it was leaking poison into my body. And normally people would die after about a week of this, but not Liz. Liz just charged right on through. And so, yay, my mom always called me a miracle because I was 2 pounds, 9 ounces at birth. So maybe I am. But honestly, if I could rewind time and have listened to that small, still inner voice, it would have been a much easier path. And so that would begin a journey of, I don't want to call it illness, but it certainly was a journey of compassion for myself, for a totally different type of life than I'd ever lived before. I used to be a semi-professional runner. I mean, I was a valedictorian. I had lived a very blessed young life. However, there was a lot of not good things, abuse in my home. We were very poor. A lot of things that I was running away from as well, which pushed me into corporate and wanting to make a lot of money and be a really big success. So I can see why it all happened, but I would get a laundry list of autoimmune diseases. Most people don't realize, but sepsis is kind of a silent killer, because a lot of people don't die right away. They will end up dying or killing themselves within usually a decade. So sepsis, had chronic appendicitis, so lost an appendix, would later lose a gallbladder. I got Hashimoto's, lupus, RLS, TMJ, IBS, basically just added up, because what sepsis does is it basically kills all the bacteria in your body, and then the medicines that they use to fix it kill all the other bacteria. So it's just a really fun environment that you create. And then, like Jesse, you spend as many years as it takes rebuilding. And so, and all of this was happening right before my wedding. Right after I had knee surgery and bought a new house. And so it was a very fun time in my life, and would continue to be a trial of surrendering and really dying this person who I was, this type A person that just couldn't exist anymore. And the biggest power was listening to teachers, spiritual teachers, getting into the metaphysics, meditation, breath work, going back to nature, and just being, just realizing that we are infinite beings and we don't need to participate in the hustle. We can actually just be. And our only job throughout the day is to breathe and choose love over fear, and to listen to that small, still inner voice. And honestly, Scott, you asked, how did I get these gifts? Well, I got my oracle gifts and my medical intuit gifts and all the other shaman gifts and everything, the quantum healing gifts that I've been so blessed with, by becoming a creature of compassion, I like to call it, and really tuning into that small, still inner voice and letting it drive my life. So no longer buying into the hustle, reviving the divine feminine nature, which is actually just to slow down, to attract, go inside, and realize that everything I need is already inside, and that I don't need to listen to anyone else's prescription for my life. So I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible. But that's kind of my story. And I have spent the last really it took me about 7 years to kind of recalibrate. And I was in many dark places where I wanted to be dead, where I was in bed 50% of the time. And I also had to continue working during this, which was very intense. And I did for a while, until I really realized that in order to fully heal, I needed to completely remove stress from my life. And so I completely surrendered, and it meant really coming close to zero in bank accounts. It meant paying for a lot of things out of pocket, holistic health. Woo woo. And it meant just really unlearning everything that I learned about what it meant to be a person in this world. And so through that process, I started doing all the cleaning, the house cleaning, and listening to that small, still inner voice. And the more I listened, the more it spoke, the more gifts came in, the more I would realize I just knew how people felt. I just knew what they were thinking. I just could see timelines and yada, yada, yada. One thing led to another. Now I hear into other dimensions, and it's really weird. But we all talk about this compassion and this empathy. And now my whole life is devoted to living in full surrender to God's source and that small, still inner voice, and knowing that we are infinite beings and we do not need to participate in the hustle. So I now coach people on how to escape the quote unquote matrix and live in the miracle zone, which is our inherent state. Our inherent state is just to attract and to stay in our self-worth and to be and do and think what we love, what we would love. And if we can stay in that vibration, literally we can pull any threads we want out of the quantum field. So I think Jesse and I could have some pretty fun conversations. So yeah, that's in a nutshell my thing.
I love your exuberance, Liz. I really absolutely do. Louisa, any thoughts, comments, questions for Liz?
Yeah, I'm super curious because you talked about you had near death experience too. Um, like when I asked Jesse, I'm also curious with you, is there any, do you feel like your near death experience was necessary for where you are now? And also, is there anything that you could share with everybody about that would make all the difference? You know, because it seems like this is the time for near death experiences to come out. I don't know if everybody's noticed that, but it's like they're coming out, like out of out of the woodwork, and I know we need to hear this from people. It's an important part of consciousness now.
I think there's several things to note about it. The first thing is we choose our experience. And, you know, it's easy to fall into a victimhood mindset and to feel like the world is happening to me. And I lived in that place for a very long time. And that was probably the hardest thing to overcome, was to just let go of that story, so that I could even just realize I was healed, and even to have your friends and family let go of that story. To this date, people are still trying to mom me, and I'm like, I'm fine. Look at me, I'm great. I accomplished like 5 bucket list items this year. I'm fine. We're good. I went to Burning Man. We're cool.
Right.
I survived Burning Man. But what I would say is, when you picked a really hard path on this earth, you're probably a super spiritual royalty. They gave you a menu and you said, oh yeah, let's make it as juicy as possible. Because when you're in that cognitive state of awareness, you don't see good or bad. You don't see pain as a bad thing. You see pain as a juicy, visceral experience. You see heartbreak as a juicy, visceral experience, and you're like, bring it on. So you're like, oh, I want of everything. And you plan out this life of intensity because you're going to get the most out of this time on earth, which someone had said earlier. And so if you can flip it and look at it that way, you kind of start to smize into the pain. You find yourself in yoga, tying yourself in knots and just kind of being like, this is great. It took me a while to get there, but you know. And
Yeah,
the
thank you.
thing is, I really think when you can get to that deepest, darkest point in your life, you not only can see what you're made of, if you can really see what you're made of and give yourself that credit, you'll always have that. You'll always have that. You'll know that you can get through anything else in your life. And that makes you a very valuable teacher. And then the other thing about that is you'll turn to things you've never turned to before. So I found myself on my hands and knees. I grew up in a family that practiced an Eastern Indian religion. So I didn't grow up, you know, worshiping God. And I found myself on my hands and knees, picture book style, like, come on, please. Like, I'll do anything, you know? And so once you can get to that full state of surrender, it's a great tool to have in your toolbox. And, you know, I've been there over and over again. My ascension journey, I believe I chose, is to say goodbye to everything in my life that I've ever wanted to hold on to. And it's just what doesn't kill you gives this heart the opportunity to become so expansive and opens you up for the next chapter and the next chapter and the next chapter to really feel this juicy, visceral experience we call Earth.
Wow. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Well, we're going to bring all of our presenters back on in a moment and do some Q&A. I do want to do a little bit of promotion. You can learn all about Liz, that gorgeous hair, oh my God, by going to her website, which is loves2gather.com. What a wonderful name for a website, loves2gather.com. And she is truly a shamanic healer and soul guide. And you provide private session work, right, Liz?
Yeah, so I do private sessions, virtual or in person. And I also do coaching, and that can be one-on-one, or I do 3-month programs or group coaching. And like I said, the coaching is not your normal coaching. I weave in all of my magical intuitive gifts. I even teach clients how to be their intuitive selves. And I teach them how to live in the miracle zone outside of the matrix.
Beautiful. I'm going to do a little bit more promotion on a few things. We didn't get a chance to go there, but Jesse, a really good way to reach him is on Facebook. And I just see that he sent me a friend request, which I've confirmed. And that's how he and I communicated, actually, was on Facebook. And, I think it may even be somebody in the audience who first introduced me to Jesse. I don't remember who it was, but if it was someone in the audience right now, announce yourself. But thank you. What a score, Jesse. I think we all have fallen in love with him tonight, as well as all of our presenters, Liz and Molly. So you can find him on Facebook, Jesse Epp, EPP. So that's the way to find Jesse. I also, we talked about Bo Lozoff, and thank you, Dorina, for sharing with us about Bo's books. And I'm going to go to she found where you can find him on Amazon. And We're All Doing Time is kind of his classic book that we spoke of, and it really blew my socks off when I first read it. And so I went right out and got another one of his books, and I love his book, Deep and Simple, A Spiritual Path for Modern Times. And it's one of the best practical books for how to live life. So we're enjoying life to the fullest, and we're living life sustainably and holistically. It's a very, very powerful, powerful book. So since Bo ended up coming and visiting us in the astral plane, and the incredible connection through how he came in through Nicholas, and the fact that Larissa and I had conversations about Bo Lozoff. So the moment Nicholas brought it up, I thought, oh, this is amazing. So Bo, you are part of the awakening world tonight.
And can I say that It's a Meaningful Life, It Just Takes Practice, that is also one of his books, is just incredible. And I've quoted it. I've officiated lots of weddings, and I quote from his book as I officiate, because it's just brilliant as well.
Yeah,
he really, he talks about how one of the things I love, he says, is life is hard because you can do hard. And I feel like that kind of also sums, like it's a part of the theme that's moving through tonight as well, is that we all are, challenged in very different ways. And even though some of our challenges sound really intense, physically with what we've shared today, everybody, goes through massive challenge in their life, not with the body, with relationships or their feelings of self-worth. And we all experience that hard. And it's about being human and the gift of growth, from being human. And when Liz was sharing, she affirmed a bit of that as well, talking about how, before we come into these bodies, that we're sitting there and we're going, okay, this master class of life, like we're freaking warriors. I swear to God, those of us who choose to come into a body at all, like, because we are love, we're pure love. We come from love. I always say this, we come from love, we return to love, because we are love. We are love. Like, that's who we are. So to say yes, to come into a body and to go through the depth of challenge, and as Molly was talking about depression, how a lot of us hit places of depression and questioning, why we're even here. It's like it takes so much to say yes to coming into this world, to grow consciousness. It's going to be hard, but we can do hard because that's how we grow consciousness. So I want to say thank you to everyone tonight. I love the show tonight, Scott. Like, I think
It's a beautiful
it's what
show.
we
It's
needed.
beautiful.
It's what we truly needed tonight. And everybody who shared, like, my God, it's just Jesse and Omashar and Liz and Molly and all the, everyone who wrote in. I mean, it's just like we could do a show on all the comments that are coming through tonight as well. There's just so many beautiful shares.
I've brought up
Profound.
Liz and Jesse because there is a question for those of you who had near-death experiences to please share, were there any messages that you may have brought back with you from the other side? That's a question from Dr. Laura. And so for any of the three of you who have had near-death experiences.
I personally, I went and started going towards the light, but as I went towards the light right away, I was like, no, 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 that's not what because when I started, when I was in the hospital bleeding out, I was saying over and over again, let thy will be my will. And when I started saying that, I started going into the light. And I, at that moment, was like, that's not what I was asking for. I'm not ready to go into the light. So I actually didn't completely cross over. So I just want to say that I got close, but I didn't go all the way in. So I'd love to hear from these two.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think Jesse should take this one.
All right. Yeah, there are many things that you bring back when you experience something like that. It's hmm. I would say the biggest thing is that you know who and what you are immediately when you get to the other side. There's no confusion, there's no amnesia anymore. You just know who and what you are, and you see how massive and powerful of a being that you are, and that essentially we are actually all that is. Like every one of us is literally one being that decided to split itself and know itself from different angles. And this is what we call God, the universe, source, all it is. Literally everything is that. And so all of the phrases that we've heard from the beautiful spiritual teachers, like Yeshua and Buddha, where like I am you and you are I, and do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, it's because literally one of the fundamental laws of creation is what you put out is what you get back. So what you emanate and how you act, how you think, how you emote creates what you receive in return, because at the highest level you're always doing it to yourself, because everything is one.
Beautifully stated. Beautifully
Yeah.
stated.
And the other thing that you've all probably heard before is when you're in that state of surrender, none of the things that you used to worry about as like level 10 alarms in your life matter at all. They're just such minuscule little things. So
Yeah.
be like water.
Yeah.
Let things flow in your life. Do not take things personally. Just in general, remember that all is love, and anyone acting out is acting because they need love, they need more love, or it's all like Larissa said, it's all about the love. It literally is.
Beautiful. Thank you both. Well, I want to take a moment to kind of update people a little bit about our beloved friend Piper Dellums. And as all of you know, she went through she's been going through a lot of medical challenges. We started a GoFundMe for her just a week ago. And thank you everybody who's been donating. We're up to $1,800. And I'm putting it in the chat box right now how people can continue to support her. So that's really important. And I was in touch with her today. She had another surgical procedure yesterday, and they cleared her kidneys. They needed to make sure that her kidneys were cleared and strong enough so that they can then go after the tumor that's in her pelvic area. For the most part, it went well, but they also found something else that they're a little concerned about. So she's definitely needing our prayers. So it's really important that we continue to pray for her. And it's also really important that we continue to support her financially. So I would like to take a moment for us to put her into our prayers. And so again, I'm going to put the spotlight on her photo, and let's just take a minute of silence, sending our love to beloved Piper Dellums. Maximum grace for Piper. Thank you, everyone. I'm also going to bring Omoshar up because, of course, another big event that's been going on in our Global Peace Tribe has been the passage of Sri Ram Ka. And as most of you know, Omoshar did music for all of the events that Sri and Kira did. Just a quick reminder for those who don't know, Sri Ram Ka got ill very suddenly last week, was in the hospital for, I think, 3 days and died, passed away on Thursday, the 18th. We did a very makeshift tribute to him on Saturday night's Awakening World. And then on Monday, with the great help of Omoshar, Lady Kira put together a little memorial for him that was beautiful, very beautiful. There's a 7-minute video, and I've posted it on our YouTube channel, and I'll put that link into our chat box. It's a beautiful 7-minute video. But I'd love to turn it over to you, Omoshar, because you've really been on kind of the inside working with Kira. Anything you want for our Global Peace Tribe to know about this past week, which has been such a big week?
It is a big week from the perspective that Master Lady Kira and Sri Ram Ka have built up just an epic 20-25 year momentum teaching. And you could go like the twin ray with this couple, their teaching, they can take you right home. And, I would say that the biggest thing now is just to hold a space at the vision of Sri Ram Ka and the pyramids of peace around the world, and the vision of their self-ascension teachings continues because Kira is doing her absolute best to stand up and practice everything that she is espoused, has taught, whilst her heart is broken. Her husband of 20-25 years, I'm not too sure exactly what it is, 23 something, has just left. For instance, just a week ago, he was as strong as an ox. We were on a show together, and then a week later, he's just gone. And they are the foundation of Tosa Blue Mountain in Ecuador. So there's nothing really to say. There's absolute heartbreak going down. There's been some beautiful ceremonies, and there was another one last night in which many of the elders from the local community in Ecuador came and sat in the Temple of Peace, the Pyramid of Peace, and just honored the life of Sri Ram Ka. And you can only imagine the travesty and the tragedy that Kira is feeling, because she feels just completely abandoned and deserted at the same time as feeling that she's fully connected to the source within. So it's just one of those human moments, and all we can do is really, from this perspective, is shine the light of love on the vision, because it's a vision of all of us awakening together. And as Jesse so eloquently stated, there's only one of us here, and just from all these different perspectives. And so we're all lifting each other up by the bootstraps and or the angel wings. And so just send a love. And if you ever feel like it, they have something called Monday Mastery every second week, and then you can join that as a subscription, or you can buy it $11 per Monday mastery. And one thing they have set up is something called Global Minga, which is helping all of the misplaced people in the Amazon, all the tribes and the misplaced people who are so forgotten about. There's hundreds of thousands who have nothing, not even medical. They just in the last month set up a free medical clinic close to their center. But anyway, the reason for this soliloquy is that 100% of everything that goes into their Monday Mastery account goes 100% to something called Global Minga, which is helping the Amazon rainforest people have some basic things like water and food and healthcare. So that is it for now. Namaste.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Omashar, for all that you did to support her during this extraordinary week.
Yeah, we're here to help each other, brother, and we have certain skill sets, and so yeah, gifted.
And again, people, I'll take people through where you can find what he was just talking about. If you go to their homepage, which is shriandkira.com, shriandkira.com, and I know that somewhere here is the Global Minga. I remember finding it the other day. We'll find it somewhere. I'll try and find it. Here it is. So right where it says Discover, on that toolbar, you go down to Global Minga, and that's where you can learn all about their big long-term project. And then you click here, and that's where you can donate to the Global Minga. So that's definitely honor.
Yeah. It's huge what they've done for their community down there. You wouldn't have, we don't even know that there's, we hear about everything in the Eastern and Western worlds, but we still aren't really hearing about what's happening in the jungle that gives us our breath, so yeah.
All right, we're going to close in a moment with Jesse doing one more song, just one last announcement. Kind of a different, one of the things I love about the Awakening World is that we have so many different topics and we do so many different things. And my vision for this week was people really coming forward and sharing that which is so personal, which obviously we experienced today. And that continues on Saturday night in kind of a different way. Saturday night, we're going to be listening to people who have made contact with their galactic family, people who have connected either in the multidimensional realm or in the 3D realm with our galactic family. Our featured speaker, Geraldine Orozco, who is extraordinary. She's a psychotherapist. I'm so impressed with her that when we were all in Las Vegas together, I took her to meet the twin Ray, and they all hit it off quite beautifully. She's a very wise woman who understands how to explain and help people who have had multidimensional experiences that, it's hard to integrate that into the 3D world. And all the people you're looking at here are experiencers of different kinds. The one you probably know the most, of course, is Alan Steinfeld, my co-host. John Martin, the beautiful man who plays guitar and sings to the star people, and we've seen his videos on this show before. And as always, we will have Omashar music, and we'll close with the KES Group Healing by Rosemary Swanson. So that's our show for Saturday night. Please join us. As always, let people know about the Global Peace Tribe. It's important that we continue to grow. And thank you for what's been a very beautiful show. And as I turn it back over to our new friend, Brother Jesse, and we listen to his beautiful music, let's all reflect on what we've heard tonight and what maybe we want to embrace within ourselves. What challenge we might be facing that we're ready to move through in order to be more fulfilled in life.
Oh, thank you. I brought my little friend in to join us. This is Baby.
I love that Grogu is.
Little Grogu.
We love Grogu.
Yeah. They're going to be here eventually, so I like to hang out with them and walk around town with this guy and stuff. I'll be playing let's see. The key of this piece will be an F sharp, which is coordinated with the high heart chakra. So it's just in between the heart and throat chakra. I just wanted to say for anybody who'd like to reach out for anything musically, any information, or embodiment coach sessions, just feel free to contact me on Facebook. Just let me know that you're from this, and then we can go from there. So thank you, and thank you, Scott, and thank you everybody for being here and for putting this on. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
You rock, brother.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Did you write that?
Oh,
Did you write that?
I didn't write this music, no.
Okay. I'm like, it feels so cinematic and it feels like you expressed almost like somebody's entire life, like the beauty of a lifetime so beautiful.
Thank you very much. Oh,
Thank you, Jesse. Welcome
thank you.
to another tribe for you to now be a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go to gallery view for those of you who have your cameras on. And a big welcome and hello to everybody watching on Facebook, Conscious Living, Conscious Awakening World, and all the other broadcast partners. I'm kind of a little bit touched right now. It's been a beautiful show. Thank you, everyone, so much. God's blessings, and may we all find the courage to move through our challenges and fulfill our greatest heart's desires. Big thanks to our presenters, Molly, Liz, Louisa, my co-host, Jesse, and of course, Omar. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you on Saturday night.
Night. Much love.
Good night.